Hi guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. Hey, as promised, I'm doing a video on how to choose your Italian property with an eye toward renting it out as a vacation rental when you're not there. Now, doing a rental when you're not there is a very great way to get the money in to kind of pay for the taxes and the maintenance of your property so that it's not costing you a lot of money while you're not enjoying it. So it's a really, really good opportunity. And in fact, Pete and I have a couple of B&B properties. One we're renovating in the piazza of our village, which is so exciting, and another one which is already an apartment that's already done up and ready to go, and we actually did quite well this last summer despite COVID. So there are opportunities there, but you need to know what to look for. So this is how you find the property. First of all, look for a vibrant community. You know, sometimes a centro storico, historic center with a lot of people and a lot of activities and things like that makes it very compelling for somebody who wants to come over and just dive into the culture. So that's the first thing I would look for. Another very important thing is views or aesthetics. Now, in our area, we have the Mediterranean. So any property that I look for with regard to an Airbnb or anything like that must have views either of the mountains or the sea, and we have views like that all over Calabria. I mean, that's not even a problem, but I wouldn't buy an apartment that didn't have something like that unless you want to rent it out for very, very cheap. You could do that. You know, you can ask more if you have a beautiful, beautiful apartment with lovely views and that sort of thing. So that's another thing to look for. Obviously, sea views are huge. All right, another thing you want to look for is good access to transportation. Now, it may be that you're in a hill town and you need to rent a car, but you have access to the train station. You don't have to drive an hour to a train station or an airport or whatever, you know, wherever that hub is for your transportation is not too far away. Are the roads accessible, or are they bumpy and uncomfortable? You know, these are things that you really want to keep in mind. Also, is it easy to find the place? That's another thing that you really want to look at. Accessibility, parking, things like that are super duper important when you have a rental. Another thing is the proximity to attractions and things like beaches and that sort of thing. Like if you're going to go to Florence or Rome or something like that and buy yourself an apartment there, I would look, you know, sort of not too far from the attractions or very close to the metro that will take you to the attractions. So that's a very important point, is accessibility to the attractions. In our case, again, it's the beach. People love the beach down in Calabria. Who wouldn't? They're gorgeous. How accessible is it? So that's a big, big point. Some of the little hill towns that I talked about in the last video take a bit to get there, and I don't think people want to drive an hour and a half to go to the beach or see the attractions. All right, now there's another thing that you can look at, and Pete sent me this link the other day and I was like so excited. It's a link that lets you evaluate the rental potential in a certain area, which is like, oh my gosh, because what I was doing was going on Airbnb and looking at what the rentals were going for. That was okay, but anybody can ask anything and you don't know if they're full all year, and it took a lot of work. This website is called AirDNA. So you can go to AirDNA if you have an interest in a certain area, and you can look at that area and see what the rental market is like. And then that will help you decide whether you're going to be able to rent out your apartment or house or whatever during that time period that you're not there. So that's very good. Another thing you want to look at very carefully is what are the local laws on short-term rentals. I know many areas in America have really cracked down on that and really crushed the Airbnb market in certain areas. I have heard things about Barcelona and that sort of thing, you know, how easy it is, you know, to get rid of somebody who stays when they're not supposed to, that kind of thing. So you really want to research the laws in the areas and make sure there's nothing that's going to come back and bite you in the butt if you have trouble with a tenant. Now, we haven't had any trouble with tenants, and we have a very good management company, which brings me to my next point. You make sure that you have quality personnel to manage and clean your home. Now, what I want to bring up a little bit is we've run into a little bit of this issue with one of our apartments, mostly because we weren't there because of COVID. We had planned to be there. The property manager had a little trouble finding people who would really clean it. And the problem is that they really weren't looking at it with an eye towards what, you know, the rental market really needs or wants. I mean, the cleaners, right? Things like making sure the beds are made up, making sure that there's nothing sticky on the counters. I mean, these are all things we go, oh yeah, but there needs to be a little bit of training thing. So what I'm rolling out right now in the Riviera de Cedri, where we are, is I'm going to find some guys who want to start their own business as property managers, Airbnb property managers. I'm going to do a whole training program and a checklist, and I'm going to run them through it, and then check them out on it at the end. And then they can set up their own particular business as property management specialists who will go around and make sure that things like, you know, checking the air conditioner, is it working? Are there any funny smells in the building? When the toilet flushes, does it leak? I mean, all of these things need to be looked at, because people don't like it when they come into a beautiful place and they go, and they open the fridge and there's somebody's eggs from last week or whatever, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it sounds simple, but these are things that could easily be missed if you don't have a checklist. So that's what I'm planning to do in our area, which will be lovely and wonderful. But when you look at an Airbnb type thing, you want to make sure there is somebody, or you can train them yourselves, you know, run them through a checklist and let them know what's needed and wanted. Pete and I are working on our next online course, which is purchasing and running B&Bs in Italy. And we'll have all of that stuff. We'll have the checklists, we'll have the training programs, we're gonna have all of that. And then you can go into wherever area you want to go into, train your guys, and what a thing you will be doing for the economy there and for these guys. Now they can set themselves up into business, knowing what's needed and wanted and how to get a product on it. So anyway, that's kind of all I have on the Airbnb potential in Italy. I hope it's helpful. Stay tuned. We have a lot of good things coming. All right. Oh, and subscribe. Thank you. See you later. Bye.